Your family does not see your future. They see the version of you they have already survived, the version who announced plans and abandoned them, the version who needed reassurance before acting, the version who became disciplined for 7 days, disappeared for 3 weeks, then returned with another vision. So when you describe the man you intend to become, they do not compare your words to your potential, they compare your words to your record. And until your evidence becomes stronger than their memory, your future will sound like another promise from the man they already know. Arnold Schwarzenegger was once contained inside a single label, bodybuilder. Steve Jobs was once contained inside another, the man removed from the company he helped create. Neither man escaped the old identity by arguing with the people who held it. One expanded the label until it became useless. The other built outside the institution that had rejected him and returned with leverage. So the real question is not whether people can change their judgment of you, they can. The real question is this: what kind of evidence forces an old reputation to collapse? Because if you fail to understand that mechanism, you may waste years fighting the wrong enemy. You will believe your family's doubt is stopping your progress. So you will reveal unfinished plans, defend untested ambitions, explain future income that does not yet exist, react emotionally when they question you. Measure your growth by whether familiar people finally sound impressed, and every hour spent managing their perception will be stolen from the work capable of changing it. The cost is not merely emotional, it is time, position, money, freedom. The man who keeps demanding early recognition often delays the only thing that could produce lasting recognition: proof. You experience yourself from the inside. You feel tonight's conviction. You know what you have been reading. You know what you intend to change. You can sense that your standards are becoming harder. Your tolerance for weakness is shrinking, and your direction is becoming clearer. Your family cannot inspect any of this. They possess different evidence. They remember how you behaved under pressure, how many projects you started, how many promises you kept, whether you handled money responsibly, whether you needed rescue, whether your discipline survived after the excitement disappeared. They remember the role you occupied inside the family: the irresponsible one, the dreamer, the dependent one, the intelligent one who never finishes, the younger man who changes direction every few months, the son who speaks intensely then acts inconsistently. These judgments may be incomplete. They may even be unfair. But they are rarely created from nothing. That is the part most ambitious men refuse to confront. They want to believe that being misunderstood proves they are exceptional. It does not. Sometimes you are underestimated. Sometimes you are still unproven. A strategic man must know the difference. Research connected to self-verification suggests that close relationships often preserve stable views of identity. People build expectations about who you are, because those expectations help them predict how the relationship will function. Your intention may have changed. Their prediction has not. You feel the new ambition. They remember the old pattern. A stranger meets your finished work. Your family remembers the unfinished versions. A stranger sees your current offer. Your family remembers when you needed money. A stranger sees confidence today. Your family remembers hesitation yesterday. This does not mean strangers understand you better. It means they have less contradictory history. Familiarity gives people historical evidence, not prophetic accuracy. That is why family doubt is not a reliable forecast of your future. But it may still be an accurate description of your past. Machiavelli writes in The Prince, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, because it belongs to everybody to see you, to few to come in touch with you." He continues, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few really know what you are." His subject was political reputation. He was explaining that most people cannot fully investigate private character. They judge what becomes visible through conduct, appearance, and results. The application to your life is narrow but powerful. Your family cannot inspect your future discipline. They can inspect promises kept. They cannot inspect your hidden potential. They can inspect completed work. They cannot inspect the seriousness you feel tonight. They can inspect whether that seriousness survives 30 ordinary mornings. Private transformation becomes public identity only when it produces observable consequences. Stop saying, "They cannot see who I really am." Ask instead, what evidence have I given them that contradicts the old conclusion? That question is colder. It is also more useful. But now we reach the trap that destroys most unsupported men. When a man feels misunderstood, his instinct is to provide more information. He explains the business model, the career plan, the opportunity, the income he expects to make, the routine he intends to follow. He explains why the previous attempt failed and why this one will be different. But beneath the information is often a hidden request. Believe in me before I have produced the evidence. The family senses this dependency, perhaps not consciously, but they hear the intensity. They see how quickly you become defensive. They notice that their agreement still determines whether you feel powerful. So they question you again. You defend yourself again. You become frustrated. And eventually, you react from the exact identity you were trying to destroy. The man labeled immature becomes emotional. The man labeled inconsistent announces another dramatic plan. The man labeled dependent demands reassurance. The man labeled unrealistic rejects every criticism, including the useful criticism. Your reaction becomes fresh evidence for the old verdict. The loop is simple: old reputation, family doubt, emotional explanation, no new proof, greater frustration, more explanation, stronger old reputation. You believe you are fighting their perception. In reality, you are feeding it. Explanation cannot defeat a reputation created by behavior. Only behavior can. This does not mean you should become silent to look mysterious. Silence performed for status is still dependence. It means you become selective. You communicate when communication serves coordination. You listen when criticism contains useful intelligence. You clarify when the decision affects other people. But you stop using explanation as a substitute for execution. Love may deserve respect. It does not automatically deserve decision rights. Their belief is outside your control. Your schedule is not. Their excitement is outside your control. Your completed work is not. Their prediction is outside your control. Your accumulation of skill is not. Their willingness to understand you is outside your control. Your ability to reduce dependence is not. A strategy built on another person's voluntary approval is structurally weak. If you are serious about becoming measurable, stop confusing consumption with progress. You already know clarity matters, but your real problem is deciding what to build with that clarity. If you keep collecting ideas without a skill path, a proof project, and an execution plan, you will remain informed but unproven. Depths of Psyche helps you see reality clearly. The leverage map shows you what to build with that clarity, the skill path, proof project, and execution plan that fit your current situation. This is not for men looking for another burst of motivation. It is for men ready to turn insight into position. The decision is yours. Now examine what happens when a label is not attacked but outgrown. Arnold Schwarzenegger entered wider American culture primarily as a bodybuilder. His accent, name, and extreme physique did not match the conventional image of a Hollywood leading man. The label was narrow. Bodybuilder. If he had demanded that the entertainment industry imagine his future, nothing would have changed. He did not argue his way into a new identity. He developed his English. He studied acting. He learned business. He promoted bodybuilding. He pursued film roles. He continued entering arenas where the previous label did not predict success. Then, the evidence began to accumulate. Bodybuilding championships, recognizable film roles, commercial success, eventually, political office. The old identity was never erased. He remained a bodybuilder. But the label became too small. Bodybuilder could no longer explain the films. Actor could no longer explain the political campaign. Celebrity could no longer fully explain becoming governor of California. The evidence forced expansion. That is the real power lesson. Do not fight the old label directly. Build until the label loses explanatory power. Your family may still call you inconsistent. One productive morning will not change that. 30 mornings create doubt. 6 completed months create contradiction. A finished portfolio creates difficulty. Income creates consequence. Independence changes the balance of power. Old labels survive through convenience. They collapse when they can no longer explain observable reality. But this creates a harder problem. What if the environment that created the old reputation refuses to update it even after you begin to change? What if the people closest to your past are the least qualified to judge the value you are building now? That is when proof must leave the old court. Steve Jobs was forced out of Apple in 1985. Inside that environment, his name had become entangled with conflict, failed internal politics, and questions about his leadership. The institution he helped create had already formed a judgment about him. He could have spent the next decade demanding that Apple reconsider. He could have defended his vision. He could have argued that the board had misunderstood him. He could have tried to repair his reputation inside the same environment that had rejected it. But he did not possess the leverage to force a new judgment. So he built elsewhere. He founded NeXT. He became involved with Pixar. He accumulated technology, experience, relationships, and strategic value outside the institution that had defined him by failure. In his Stanford commencement address, Jobs described being removed from Apple as devastating. But he also explained that the experience released him into one of the most creative periods of his life. That period mattered because he did not merely recover emotionally. He created assets. NeXT became valuable enough for Apple to acquire it. That acquisition brought Jobs back into the company. He did not return carrying a speech about his potential. He returned connected to something Apple needed. Soon after his return, Apple reported a profitable quarter following years of losses. That result did not prove every criticism of Jobs had been false. It proved that he had returned with more experience, more value, and more leverage than when he left. This is the law. When an environment refuses to update your identity, create evidence outside that environment. Your family may be the wrong first audience for your transformation. They know your history, but they may know nothing about your market. They may love you, but possess no understanding of your craft. They may care about your safety while being completely unqualified to evaluate your strategy. Affection does not create expertise. History does not create foresight. Concern does not create decision rights. Take your work to people who can judge the work itself. Customers, employers, buyers, viewers, experienced mentors, serious collaborators, people who suffer from the problem you solve. Your family asks, is this really who you are now? The market asks, does this produce value? The second question creates better information. It also creates leverage. Stop asking familiar people to validate unfamiliar value. Build where your past has less authority than your present output. But evidence alone is not enough. A single result may impress people for a day without changing what they believe about you. One finished project may be dismissed as temporary excitement. One payment may be called luck. One disciplined week may be remembered as another phase. This is where most men become impatient. They believe the first result should erase years of contradiction. When it does not, they return to explanation. They announce that they have changed. They demand recognition for early progress. They use one small victory to attack everyone who doubted them. And by making recognition the goal, they place the family back at the center of their ambition. A reputation does not change because you produce one piece of evidence. It changes when evidence becomes a pattern. The mechanism contains 5 forces. The first is specific behavior. Do not announce that you are disciplined. Complete the work at a specific time. Do not say you are responsible. Handle the responsibility without rescue. Do not claim that you are building a business. Create an offer. Place it before the market and record the response. The second force is repetition. One productive day may be emotion. 30 productive days begin to look structural. One completed project may be an exception. A series of completed projects suggests identity. The third force is visibility. Real change must produce proof that can be inspected. A portfolio. Published work. A completed certification supported by actual ability. A client result, revenue, savings. A documented project, a consistent schedule, responsibilities handled without being reminded. Visibility does not mean performing success. It means making real capability legible. Hidden value is easily ignored. Unmeasured value is easily dismissed. Unpublished value is treated as if it does not exist. The fourth force is consequence. The behavior must change something. Income increases, dependence decreases, opportunities appear, skills become useful, decisions become calmer, responsibilities improve. Your ability to refuse weak terms becomes stronger. Without consequence, visibility becomes performance. The fifth force is time. The old reputation was not created in one conversation. It will not disappear after one good week. Machiavelli wrote about the difficulty of introducing a new order of things. There is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. Your old identity is an established order. It has history, evidence, predictability. Your new identity is an unproven regime. It has intention, possibility, perhaps a few early actions. People do not easily trust a new order before they have experienced it long enough to depend on it. So the formula is simple: new behavior multiplied by repetition, visibility, consequence, and time creates reputation change. Remove one element and the reset weakens. Behavior without repetition looks temporary. Repetition without visibility remains private. Visibility without consequence looks performative. Consequence without time may be dismissed as luck. Time without new behavior preserves the old identity. Now turn this mechanism into action. Begin by naming the old identity. Complete this sentence: my family still sees me as the man who starts but never finishes, needs financial help, changes direction constantly, talks more than he acts, avoids responsibility, cannot maintain discipline. Be precise. Do not say, "They think I am a failure." That is emotional language. Identify the behavioral pattern beneath the judgment. An enemy that remains vague cannot be studied. Then identify the evidence supporting it. Ask yourself, what repeated behavior made this reputation rational? Do not defend yourself. Do not search for excuses. List the evidence. Projects abandoned, payments missed, promises broken, schedules ignored, emotional reactions under pressure, dramatic announcements without completion, moments when other people had to rescue you. This is not shame. It is intelligence. Some judgments are outdated. Others remain accurate because your behavior has not changed enough. Machiavellian realism begins by refusing flattering lies, especially the lies you tell yourself. Once you understand the old identity, define the replacement. Do not choose a vague word such as successful. Success is not behavior. Choose an identity that can be observed. A man who finishes projects. A man who pays his own expenses. A man who produces useful work every week. A man who keeps a schedule. A man who handles pressure without collapsing into argument. A man who builds skills that create market value. Then choose one contradiction action, not 10. 1. If the old identity is, he never finishes, complete one abandoned project. If the old identity is, he lacks discipline, keep one modest schedule for 30 days. If the old identity is, he only talks, stop announcing and publish one useful piece of work every week. If the old identity is, he always needs money, take responsibility for one recurring expense. If the old identity is, he changes direction constantly, remain with one strategically chosen project long enough to receive real feedback. Do not attempt to transform every area at once. A scattered campaign loses force. Concentrate your evidence against the most damaging label. Then document the work. Record the date, the action, the output, the result, the proof, the next repetition. Do not announce the transformation. Document it. Without records, one intense day can feel like a new identity. A written record reveals whether a pattern actually exists. Your first audience is not your family. It is reality. Then move the evidence toward the correct audience. Send the portfolio. Publish the analysis. Offer the service. Apply for the position. Test the product. Speak to the customer. Ask the qualified mentor. Put the work where it can be judged by people who understand its value. The new reputation should form first, where the new capability matters. Then allow perception to lag. This is where self-command is tested. Your behavior may change before your reputation changes. Expect it. Do not panic. Do not return to explanations. Do not create conflict because people are slow to update. Do not cut people off merely because they remain skeptical. Do not use one victory to humiliate those who doubted you. Let them be late. Your future does not require them to understand it early. Machiavelli writes, "A wise prince should establish himself on that which is in his own control and not in that of others." He was writing about political obedience, not family relationships. The application here is precise. Do not build your execution on another person's voluntary approval. Their belief is not under your command. Your action is. Their recognition is not under your command. Your proof is. Their apology is not under your command. Your position is. The objective is not to become feared. It is to become difficult to govern through approval. The man who must be praised before he moves can be stopped by silence. The man who must be understood before he acts can be stopped by confusion. The man who must be supported before he builds can be stopped by indifference. Remove these dependencies, and other people lose unnecessary control over your direction. This does not require cruelty. It does not require emotional numbness. It does not require treating your family as an enemy. It requires structure, a useful skill, a controlled schedule, a credible body of work. financial reserves, the ability to leave exploitative terms, the discipline to continue when affection is temporarily withdrawn. That is sovereignty, not domination over others. Command over the part of your life that belongs to you. Your family cannot see your future because the future produces no evidence in the present. They possess your archive. You possess your intention. Until intention becomes consequence, the archive wins. Sometimes they are wrong about you. Sometimes they are afraid. Sometimes they lack expertise. And sometimes they are accurately describing patterns you refuse to confront. A strategic man does not waste time choosing the explanation that protects his ego. He studies the evidence. He separates what he controls from what he merely desires. He builds capacity before depending on favor. He converts private qualities into visible outcomes. He understands that reputation follows repeated evidence more reliably than declared intention. Clarity creates control. Control creates stable action. Stable action creates proof. Proof alters reputation. Reputation creates access. Access creates leverage. Leverage creates the freedom to choose without asking permission. If you are the kind of man who is finished collecting truths without converting them into position, stop mistaking intellectual agreement for transformation. You already know that nobody can build your reputation for you. Your real problem is creating a system that survives after the emotion fades. If you keep consuming hard truths without disciplined execution, you will become a man with powerful language and weak evidence. Inside Patreon, you get the unfiltered frameworks, deeper strategic breakdowns, and practical execution systems that help you turn insight into proof, leverage, and self-command. This is not for passive spectators searching for reassurance. It is for men willing to confront their record and build a stronger one. If this video exposed a pattern you could no longer ignore, like it, subscribe to the channel, and state your contradiction action in the comments. Do not write what you hope to become. Write what you will repeat. The decision is yours. Stop demanding that your family see the man you have not fully proven yet. Do not argue with the old reputation. Contradict it. Do not announce discipline. Repeat it. Do not describe independence. Build it. Do not ask them to imagine your future success. Create consequences that force the image to change. Your family may continue seeing the old version for longer than you want. Let them. Your old identity survives only until new evidence becomes impossible to ignore.